Welcome in this what's new video about Peakto 1.9, our latest release. Peakto 1.9 comes with a number of new features, and among them is the ability to handle ON1 Photo RAW images. So ON1 Photo RAW appears as a new editing workspace. It will show up if you have ON1 Photo RAW installed, either version 2022 or 2023. In order to use this workspace, simply click on the plus button. You can let Peakto create a working folder, which is where all the new edits will be put if you decide to isolate those edits in that folder. And so once you've added ON1 Photo RAW, in the sidebar, you'll see these three familiar sections, if you want. There is an all version section where you'll see all your ON1 Photo RAW edits, the last edits, the same thing, but organized by date, and a work folder, which is currently empty because I haven't done any specific edits. The all versions is not empty because Peakto has already some sources, and among them there are some watched folders, and in those watched folders I already had some ON1 Photo RAW versions. So in order to understand that with a new folder, I'm going to pick a folder here which contains a number of JPEG images, and there is a sidecar here. So there are 7 images, and one of the images has a sidecar. That means it has been edited in ON1 Photo RAW. Let's have a look. It's 35, so it looks like this. This is the original, right? So now I'm going to ingest that folder in Peakto. All the images have a little JPEG badge because they are all JPEGs, except one of them, which is the ON1 Photo RAW version for that image. I can edit it in ON1 to see what the edit looked like. And this is just going to interpret the sidecar. So ON1 has now loaded the image, and I can see what are the settings that are applied. So there is a crop, some development effects, a vignette, and this is the preview, and this corresponds to the preview that Peakto has also got for that image. So what happened here is adding a folder with ON1 content will render that content in an accurate way in Peakto, and the content is going to be referenced, tagged if you want, inside my view, so I can see that this file actually is an ON1 version. If I go into my ON1 Photo RAW workspace and I click on all versions, I can see that this image now appears here as well. So everything that has been edited in ON1 is now available here. So the workspace lets you access those edits that you've performed in ON1 in any of the sources that Peakto already manages. So let's look at another use case, and namely the use case where I have an existing image that I want to edit in ON1. So we can use this image, for example, which is a RAW file that lives inside a Luminar Neo catalog. I'm going to call edit in workspace, and I have two options here. Either I edit the image without making a copy, so it will create the ON1 sidecar next to it wherever it lives, or I can edit a copy of this image in the work folder, in which case it would make a copy of that RAW file inside the work folder and launch ON1 from that copy. I'm going to edit in place, so it launches ON1 for that specific image. There it is. I'm going to apply some effects here. I'm going to do something really Okay, something quite dramatic so that we can see the effect immediately. And I confirm. When I confirm, this is where the sidecar is going to be written down to disk. With the current version of ON1, you have to save an export of that rendition. We don't really need it, so I'm going to save it in a temporary folder, but I need to make that save operation in order to leave that screen and for the sidecar to be created. So you can just pick any location on JPEG, or you can decide to save it in a proper export folder if you want. That can be also indexed by Peakto, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to save that. And if I go back to Peakto, I should see the edit that I just made appear in the last edits section of my workspace. So this image that originally lived in Luminar has now a version that has been created in ON1. If I switch to instant mode, I can see now that this new version in ON1 is just one of the 5 versions I have for that image. So all the versions are kept together. Let's now do the same thing but using a copy. So I'm going to take that image. Let's do something really simple here. I'm going to do a crop. Right. And I am also going to apply a filter, for example, black and white. Again, it asks me to save it somewhere. Either I save it in a location that I want to keep, or I can just save it anywhere. What is important is that the sidecar gets written. And now the ON1 version has been created, and it is referenced inside the work folder because this is my first item in the work folder. Remember, I explicitly asked to create a copy in the work folder, and of course I can also go back to last edits and I'm going to see it with all my last edits. Any image that already lives in Peakto. Peakto also supports versions inside ON1. So if I open ON1, let's browse this folder called Morning on the Late, which is already referenced in Peakto. If I go here, and I'm going to create 2 versions of that file. So I'm going first of all to give it 5 stars, to put it in yellow. Right. I'm going to change here, swap the sky, lower the opacity. So this is my first version done. And I'm going to create a second version by creating version. I'm going to give it 5 stars as well, maybe 4 stars. And this time I'm just going to change, make it really blue without changing anything else, just for the demo. So I have 2 versions of that specific image made in ON1. If I go back to Peakto, because Morning on the Lake is indexed, I now have a little icon that tells me that something has changed. I'm going to ask for an update. And sure enough, I will see my 2 images here. They are all under one umbrella because there are 2 versions of the same image. If I uncollapse those versions, here they are. And of course, I'm going to see them again, especially in the last edits, those 2 versions with all the associated metadata here and the ratings that have been applied. The newly integrated ON1 images also benefit from the search capabilities of Peakto. So if I open the prompt and say I'm looking for those flamingo in black and white, it will pick up the image that I just edited and turned into black and white. So you get the full power of Peakto's conversational search, similar images, even for content that has been edited in ON1. We hope that the integration of ON1 Photo RAW in Peakto opens new workflows for you. It's important to note that you can now really easily access all your ON1 edits from one convenient place, the workspace, and you can trigger new edits either from any version that already lives in the workspace or edit new versions from any image that lives anywhere else in your Peakto database. So you can take an image from Lightroom, from a folder, from Luminar, from Capture One, and just send it to ON1 for further editing. Everything is sent back to Peakto. Peakto will synchronize with those changes thanks to the sidecar information, and will also render an accurate preview of what you have done in ON1. This version of Peakto also introduces new settings to better control the usage of your graphics card. So there is a new tab called Performance in the settings dialog with two sections. The first one lets you control how much work we send to the graphics card. This is especially true for non-M1 or non-M2 machines, so Intel machines, for which we could send too much work to the graphics card, causing the computer to be in pain and to freeze even sometimes. So here there is a new slider that lets you configure that. By default, if you're on an M1, like in this example, it's going to be set to 16, but if you're on an Intel machine, it's going probably to be between 2 and 8. So you can move that slider. Of course, it's going to take more time to perform the AI analysis, but at least your computer is going to stay responsive and you can do some other tasks at the same time. The other new change here is the ability to choose on which graphical processor we send the heavy computation and most notably the AI, and also the indexing of for the conversational search. In previous releases, you had no such control. So here now you have the ability to pick any GPU from the list. Here I have only one, but if you have an external GPU, it will appear here, and you can select this. In that case, all the AI search indexing will be performed on that GPU that you've selected, while the other tasks that have to do with display, for example, will still run on the standard, probably the inbuilt GPU that the Mac would return to us. So this allows you to balance the work between the internal GPU and an external one, putting the heavy load and the heavy computation on the external one. So that's new in this release.